Hey guys, Matt here. I am up in the Northland on vacation, and I've got a kid in the back who's all hopped up on ice cream. Wyatt, say hello.
Hello.
Okay, thanks. So anyways, I'm going to make a real quick one today. I'm just going to I just want to summarize 1 Timothy 4, 1 through 4. Again, a lot going on, and before we move on, I just kind of want to tie it together. Paul is talking about the Holy Spirit speaking to him that in latter times some will depart from the faith by devoting themselves to deceitful spirits and doctrines of demons, teachings of demons, through insincerity of liars whose consciences are seared. This is something that needs to be discussed. Through insincerity of liars whose consciences are seared. These people are not innocent. Okay? The false teachers aren't innocent, and those who fall away to go to them aren't innocent. They're showing their true colors. I don't want to get in a ditch and get into can you lose your salvation, but I just think when we look at these things in the apostasy, all of these falling away, through their insincerity of through the insincerity of liars whose consciences are seared, that's not just the false teachers. That's the people that come under them too. And let me tell you something. I don't think that if you're born again, you fall for that. I don't, because you're sealed. Ephesians 1:13 says you're sealed with the Spirit. I guess I am going to get into the you can't lose your salvation thing. You're sealed with the Spirit, right? 1 John 2:20 and 2:27 says the Holy Spirit will teach you all things, and you need not man to teach you, because the Holy Spirit will teach you all things. So it's kind of hard to have your consciences seared with fire, right? Because our consciences are going through the fires of the testings and the trials of our faith, which make us more like Jesus, not less like Jesus, right? So the takeaway here is these people are not innocent. They are not. Again, I go to 2 Timothy 4, where Paul says, preach the word in season and out of season, because there will come a time when they will heap up to themselves teachers that their itching ears want to hear. The false teachers, Joel Osteen is a judgment on all the people that come see Joel Osteen. We can't look at that and say, oh, those poor people, they're deceived because of this guy who's preaching another doctrine, this silly other doctrine, which is not godliness, which is all about the flesh, which is all about me, demoting God, promoting man, right? But those people who go to him are not innocent. Their consciences are seared too. They're the ones who are propping him up, right? When you look at Joel Osteen coming to New York City and 30,000 people come to see him, there's something wrong there, right? Why are they coming? Because he's telling them what they want to hear. Why is he there? Because they're propping him up. He wouldn't be there if they weren't buying the tickets, right? So I think this is people who are in love with themselves and in love with the flesh, and who directly oppose 1 John 2:15. Do not love the world or the things in this world. For if anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, the pride of life, is from the world, which is from Satan, right? So people are feeding off each other's flesh in the whole word of faith thing. And here they are. They're liars, and their consciences are seared. See, sometimes people, I believe, Christian leaders and teachers today, some want to avoid this, right? Now, I will say there are ditches. We don't just go banging a gong, and we have to have some love. We have to have some gentleness. We're called to speak the truth in love with gentleness and respect. But we can't avoid this. We can't avoid telling the truth. Think about it. Think about if your child went to a school and the teacher, okay, let me change this up. Let me say this. Let's say your sister or your brother, okay, their kids were going to a school, and you knew that the teacher was teaching them that 4 and 4 equals 10. Lame analogy? I don't think so. Think of how much we hold up education in this world. The importance of being smart and having a degree and all of this, right? But if that teacher was teaching them 4 + 4 = 10, man, people would be livid. They'd chase him out of there, right? They'd chase that teacher out of the school. And yet, people are so reluctant. Some people are so reluctant to call false teaching false teaching. I see it all over the place, and it drives me nuts, and it makes me sad. It makes me sad. I think we just have to call it what it is, okay? Let me read on. Who forbid marriage and require abstinence from certain foods. We looked at Catholicism yesterday. Perfect representation. What happens when you forbid marriage? Well, marriage is an institute from God. It is not good that a man should be alone, and she shall leave her family and cling to her husband, and the two shall become one, and he should love her like Christ loves the church, and she should respect him, right? That's a good thing. What happens when Catholicism takes that away? Look at all of the homosexuality and the pedophile in the Catholic Church. You can't even deny it. It's just insane. It's because they forbid marriage and just try to drag people under the law. We see it all the time. One more analogy, and then we're going to move on. I had a brother who I love email me a private message. I'm not going to use his name, but I get these all of the time. I get them all the time. People talking about, should we call God or Yahweh? Should we call Jesus or Yeshua? And then you see some people with a G-D where God's name is so holy we can't even write it. Let me tell you something, and listen to this, because that is complete utter nonsense. Think of Romans 4:16. We can now, because Jesus was the high priest and the sacrifice, right? We can now boldly approach the throne of grace. We can boldly approach the very throne of grace to find mercy and grace in our time of need because of the blood of Christ, right? So if we can boldly approach the throne of grace, do you think we can write G-O-D on a piece of paper? My goodness. It's insane. It's silly. It's nonsense. He doesn't care whether I'm a guy who lives in Minnesota, USA. I'm gonna call him Jesus, and he's just okay with that. And if you want to call him Yeshua, you know what? He's okay with that too. But don't let somebody drag you under the law where they say you have to call him Yeshua and Yahweh, and his name is so holy. Why we can't even write it on a piece of paper? That's insane, you guys. That's insane. Knock it off. Rebuke people that do that because it's silliness. It's just the same old trick. Satan's been doing this trick for ages. Look at Galatians, look at 1 Timothy, look at 2 Timothy. Satan tries to pull people back under the law. And what are we seeing here? We're seeing that these are extra doctrines. If somebody tells you you have to read a certain version of the Bible, you have to worship on a certain day, you have to keep the Sabbath still on Saturday or whatever, you can't eat meat on Fridays, all of these things, though in themselves they could be good if done with thanksgiving and thankfulness and a prayer, prayer from us, they can be good. But don't let people tell you you have to do it that way. Don't let people tell you it's a salvation issue, for goodness sakes. That's insane, and that's what we're seeing here. We're seeing people trying to drag, false teachers trying to drag Christians back under the law, and we as Christians got to be careful, because the weaker Christians, we have a bent for law. We have a bent for works. We have this bent to try to pay him back by showing him how holy we can be. And it always ends up in a ditch, and it always ends up in extra biblical work, and it always ends up into another doctrine. And you know what it does? It makes the believer exhausted, and it ends them in a ditch, and they shipwreck their faith, only proving that they were never truly fully there yet. Remember Matthew 13, I always say, it can be a long road. It was for me. When we're being wooed in by God, there's all these false teachers that want to add things on, and what they want to do is they want to weigh you down, and what happens? It chokes out the seed. It chokes out the seed. And who's behind it? This is the big takeaway. Satan. Doctrines of demons. There is no such thing as a doctrine of man. There's two kinds of doctrines. The doctrine of Jesus Christ and the doctrines of demons, the doctrine of Satan. Period, paragraph. Anything else, if it ain't a doctrine of Jesus Christ, it's a doctrine of demons. Period, paragraph. All right. I keep saying the same thing, I'm afraid. So we're going to move on tomorrow. I just want to do one last one. Tomorrow we'll get into verses 5 and 6. Peace.